Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Welcome to the Rotary Club of Hudson. Please be seated.
Good morning.
And stop talking. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Ron Strobel, the Sergeant at Arms. Our invocation this morning is by Jim Young.
Good morning, Rotarians and guests. Nice warm December morning. Let us pray. Dear Father, with the beginning of the holiday season, may this Christmas bring us many reasons to smile and share the wonderful time of the year with those near and dear. May we be surrounded with love, joy, and hope that come with the Christmas and Hanukkah season. We ask for tolerance this season in a world turned upside down. Amen.
Thank you, Jim. And now to lead us in the pledge and the four-way test. And this is part of her rehab, walking up and down steps 2 weeks in a row. Marilyn Orr.
I still need the handrail. Sorry about that, guys. Okay, please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the United States and to the flag which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now for the four-way test of the things that we think, say, and do. Number one, is it the truth? Number two, is it fair to all concerned? Number three, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And number four, beneficial to all concerned. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. And we have some guests today. We have Louise McCorkle, who is a and we have Katie Benke, who is the new Economic Development Director for the city. Welcome, Katie. Yeah. Morning. And our president, Father Joe Boyson.
People transferred from Michigan have a high bar, actually, after beating up on our Buckeyes this year. So, yeah, okay. Well, then good enough. There we go. All's well that ends well. Good morning, everyone. I have a few announcements that I just lost on my phone. And so bear with me 1 second while I find those again. The first one I want to say is that the service learning team has invited us to come and to judge their random acts of kindness projects that they're doing. And there's dates for those. I think the first one is January 4. And if you'll bear with me just 1 second, because my thumb hit this and now I lost everything. Oh, rats, where did that go? Oh, my word. Yeah, right? It was, oh, well, everything was great. It was right there in my hand. Well, I'm going to try to remember, and what I forget, we'll just stick on in the end. What? The 10th and the 11th for the random acts of kindness. And there's a sign up. If you follow Marilyn's quick links email, there's there's a link to that, isn't there? It doesn't work. Yours worked? Okay, let me it a try, maybe I'll get back to you on that. All right. So I think mostly there's a sign up that you should be able to link through there and sign up for a presentation review. There are time slots really easy to do. The other thing is this next coming Tuesday, and this is important because it's before our next meeting, there is an opportunity to work with the service learning team doing a review of the film Waking Ned Devine. So sometime between now and Tuesday, you will want to watch that film to, if you've not seen it or it's not seen it recently, to refresh your memory of it. And then there's a discussion group that we get to participate with students in that opportunity. I think one was like 11 o'clock, the other one was around noon. So right around the lunch hour, I think they were around 90-minute slots. So yes, we'll make sure that those also get back out to you today so that you can participate in that. Next week, following our morning meeting, we will have a board of directors meeting. So if you're a member of the board of directors, please plan to stay. If you're interested in what board of directors does and you'd like to watch and participate, feel free to stay. So yeah, next Wednesday following the morning meeting. One more that's really sticking in my brain, but it's just not coming out. Anybody remember? Oh, Rich, help me out. Yeah, how about that?
LeBron, they beat LeBron and Westbrook.
Oh, it's a good day. Yeah.
It was a full house, by the way. The only other thing I want to mention, it might not have been on your radar, is about the picking up of the roses and the popcorn. And I want to thank Patrick for organizing the popcorn wherever he went over there. And yesterday I picked up with the superwoman over there, Marilyn, the flowers from Costco. So it's going to be down, as you probably are aware, it's going to be down from last year due to a quick turnaround with some of the orders that we had to do, but nevertheless, we did our best. So I guess the point is, if you haven't picked it up, it's sitting out there in the lobby. Maybe if we have one left over, we can give one to our very high power speaker today, whether he wants flowers or popcorn.
Flowers or popcorn? Yes.
We do have a couple sets of flowers that we need to get to Rotarians that aren't here today. So if anybody can take flowers to Catherine Sines or Andy Morse, see me after so that we can get those over to Andy and Catherine.
Okay. Thanks. Catherine's not in Aruba or somewhere, because in that case, I could do it. Yeah. All right, Ed Sogan's going to come and give us an update on Santa. Or he's going to stay down there and give us an update. What are you going to do? Sir, yes, sir.
First of all, I know that probably Bill Tobin and a few others may be older Tribe fans, Guardian fans than I am, but my first game was in 1952. The lady 2 doors away from me on East 33rd and St. Clair Avenue worked the ice cream stand, and I used to go there with her daughter, sit in the row just up from the ice cream stand and hustle down for a nickel cone every once in a while. So I've been around longer than our speaker today, so I just wanted to point that out. Free tickets would be greatly appreciated. Thank you. Ron kept track of the last 2 hours of our event on Saturday, and we had 113 kids go through in those 2 hours. So it was a highly successful event. We didn't keep track for the entire time, but we had 120 tickets out for families. We did, because of the weather, end up in the scout cabin. It worked out great. We had a tremendous setup crew that we were able to get the equipment out of the scout headquarters and over to the scout cabin. The decorators, Kelly and Jay, you guys did a fantastic job of getting the place ready to go. All we had to do was put the chairs and arrange the tables, and it was ready to rock and roll at Scout headquarters. The fire department drop off was great. Mr. and Mrs. Claus, we'd like to thank Sandy Rexroad, Jack Belby, Kent Feaster, and Sharon Blackford. Sharon Blackford was a longtime member of our organization. And when we took it over in 2001, she insisted to Jimmy Suppin that we had Mrs. Claus. So Mrs. Claus was added and we were able to invite her down from the North Pole. So she's been part of that process since then. I believe this was her 20th year of being part of that particular effort. And hopefully we'll get her to the meeting next week and recognize her for her participation. Liz Murphy and her crew at the visitor center, allowing us to have our shift change there. If you go to Hudson's, please thank them. We got 2 giant containers of hot chocolate. And when we were done, there was nothing left in that second batch. We were able to pass out over 230 candy canes. We had a record in regards to our youngest patron, 2 weeks old. Dad came in carrying her like a football. And it was really neat because we were able to take a lot of family photos with our members that were there handling the cell phones and cameras that the families brought. So all in all, it was an outstanding event. And I would like to thank everybody for participating and chipping in to make it one of the best that we've ever had. So thanks to the Rotary and thanks to all those families out there that came and celebrated Santa on the Green with our crew. Thank you.
And he doesn't want to take any credit for it, but thank you, Ed Sogan, for leading it up and making sure that we all got in place at the right time and did what we were supposed to do. So let's give Ed a round of applause as well. I found my email. This is what happens when you're left-handed and you hold your phone in your left hand. Your thumb is right by the trash button. So then you got to go back to the trash and find it. All right. One thing I did forget was the grants committee will meet following the meeting this morning. So if you're on the grants committee, plan to stay for a meeting after that. And now Jim Lang is going to come and introduce our guest. No, I'm not sure.
All right, well, I'm going to really give you the abbreviated version because, you know, Bob, we always run over time anyhow with Mr. DiBiasio. And he's brought his PowerPoint, which will keep him on track, hopefully. He doesn't have to jump around. But anyways, Bob DiBiasio, our esteemed guest today, he's been with the Cleveland team, the Guardians. He's in his 44th year this year with the Indians and his 45th year in Major League Baseball. So quite the icon in Major League Baseball. Some of the highlights: he serves as president of the Cleveland. Is this still a Cleveland Indians Charities? Okay, it's the Cleveland Guardians Charities. That does go to the charity for seeing the Indians. Anyways, but he is the president of that organization. He's the executive board of the Boys and Girls Club of Cleveland, serves at the Athletic Advisory Board of Notre Dame College, and probably the highlight for him is he's now a grandfather. And that's probably the most important thing, Bob. But anyways, without any ado, Mr. Bob DiBiasio is here to give you his inaugural update of our esteemed team. Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, James. Good morning, everybody. How we all doing today? If we could cue up the PowerPoint, that'd be awesome. You're my guinea pigs. This is the first opportunity. This is always the first of the next upcoming season of chatting about all the fun we're going to have at Progressive Field. So thank you for that opportunity to talk Guardians baseball with you. What a incredible season we had last year. So I thought it would be appropriate that we share some fun, relive some of the excitement of the 2022 season. If we can go to the next slide and hit the play button, please. All right, that'll get you going in the morning. Yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. There you go. You never tire of hearing Hammy's voice, do you? He's going to be in the Hall of Fame soon. Not only did we have one of the most exciting seasons, we had a great start to this off season as Chris Antonetti winning multiple Major League Executive of the Year awards, and as our president of baseball operations, and Tito winning the American League Manager of the Year award. It's his third Manager of the Year award since he's joined us in 2013. We'll talk about Tito in a little bit. Next slide, please. How did all this happen? Well, it's about creating a sustained winning culture that's been developed at our organization based on these three fundamental elements: acquisition of talent, development of talent, and opportunity. Providing that opportunity to see if these young players can make an impact at the big league level. Now, if you think about it, all of you are in business. These are the same elements that you use. Acquiring talent's a little more difficult these days in many businesses, but in ours, there's a whole lot of young people around the world that want to be big league baseball players. So we are scattered all across the world with our scouts, acquiring talent from the trade market, the draft, free agency. We work hard, and we'll talk a little bit more about the investment that we make in the development of our 200 athletes that we have at the Guardians organization, and then the opportunity to allow these young kids to show what they're all about. Next slide. The Dolan ownership. That one didn't come out well. I'm going to have to work on that one. With any successful organization, it obviously starts with ownership. I really wish this one would have worked, because they're the Dolans are the longest tenured owners in the history of our franchise, which is now in its will be coming up on its 123rd season. Interestingly to us, the sentiment that had been shared throughout the season, especially in the postseason, was, man, your organization, the Guardians organization does so much more with less. And while we appreciate the general sentiment of that, it is absolutely, I must say, a misguided, ill-informed concept that our ownership doesn't provide every single resource possible to make us the best we can be and to give every one of our athletes an opportunity to be the best they can be. The numbers in this chart, again, I wish you could get a chance to check it out. In their 23 years of ownership, we lead our division, we lead, and I added Cincinnati and Pittsburgh in there, you know, middle market teams in our region. To give you a comparison, that first line at the bottom, for example, Pittsburgh, this chart's all about 23 years of ownership. We've had 14 winning seasons in those 23 years. We've had 10 seasons where we've won 90 or more games. Only the Tigers have played in more postseason games than us during this period. And if you look at it, the Pittsburgh Pirates, Cincinnati Reds, Kansas City, the first number, the 4s and the 5, are winning seasons over the last 23 years. The Reds have had 4 winning seasons in 23 years. Same with Pittsburgh, same with Kansas City. Again, it gives you an opportunity. Chicago 10, you know, Minnesota 12. We are at 14 at the very top, which unfortunately is not up there. That 47 is the number of postseason games we've played under the Dolan ownership, with a record of 24 and 23. The only thing that we don't do is we don't give one player $30 million a year. And I would challenge you, if you are a baseball fan at all, to ask me or tell me afterwards, or even in the Q&A, of any middle market team that does that. And I'll beat you to the punch. There's only one. And that's San Diego. If you can consider them a middle market team in America. The per capita income of San Diego is pretty high. And they have the entire Southern California region to themselves. The NFL left San Diego. The NBA long ago left San Diego. They're the only show in town. So they get all the corporate sponsorships, their season ticket base and fans. They lost 8 years in a row until all of a sudden they decided to spend wildly in the free agent market and have turned the team around, although they faced the Dodgers, who are, I think, last year at $260 million, which was for payroll, which was almost 200 million more than us. And neither of us won the World Series, and both of us were in the postseason. So there's two economics in the game of baseball today. There's major markets, there's middle markets. Lots of big name players have signed already this winter. If you have noticed the huge deals that have been signed at the winter meetings that are ongoing right now in San Diego, it's all major markets. New York, Houston, Dallas, Philly. The Cubs are about to sign a couple here, which was noted early this morning. So the huge contracts are just reserved to the major markets. That doesn't mean, again, that you can't compete. And I think this chart shows that we put ourselves in a position each and every year to compete, especially in the last 10 since Tito arrived. Next slide, please. So you don't get a headache looking at that one. It doesn't mean we can't compete. We have, especially the last decade. We just need to focus on people, just like you, the people in your organization. It's what drives it, motivates it, makes it efficient, effective. Our 200 athletes in our player development system, we absolutely provide them every resource possible to be the best they can be. From an investment standpoint, I just want you to think about the breadth of what it takes for us to create what we do at Progressive Field. You think of the guys who wear Cleveland across the front of their uniform. There's a whole lot of other athletes who are fighting to get to Cleveland. So we have state-of-the-art facilities, and you can see the 7 campuses that we have. Progressive Field, our Goodyear complex, year-round, 12-month active Goodyear complex. There's young men right now working out every day. We built a dormitory across the street where they just can walk over at any time and get their work in. The Dominican Republic complex that we have, and the 4 minor league affiliates. Actually, Paul just spent almost 17 million on the finest, best complex in the Dominican. In that part of the world, obviously rich baseball talent. We have the absolute finest, because this is how we win consistently, is player development. Software, robotic cameras, analytics, state-of-the-art strength equipment, performance coaches, sleep coaches, nutritionists. We are, like I mentioned, we have 200 athletes. It takes over 100, more than 100 support staff to teach these young men how to play the game of baseball appropriately, and hopefully let them live out their dream to be a Major League Baseball player. We truly, truly believe we have created a sustained winning culture because we invest in our people. The last item on this slide, take a look at it. Number 1 in Major League Baseball. Now, we did pretty well at the big leagues, 92 wins, winning our division. But in all of the minor leagues, you take AAA at Columbus, AA in Akron, the high A, which is Lake County. We had the best cumulative win-loss record. Each one of these teams were 20 games over 500. There's more talent coming with the young kids that we put on the field today. Next slide. Youth. The acquisition, the development and opportunity certainly showed its face in 2022. It was the time that no one really knew when we were at spring training. We didn't make many moves in the off season. We had been acquiring in the prior 4 seasons with a lot of trades of big name people, the Klubers and the Clevengers and Lindors, and acquiring some incredible talent. And it was now time to find out which of those young men that we drafted and acquired, who's going to play at the big league level, who's going to make an impact. And did we know that we were going to end up beating out the White Sox, who everybody thought was going to be the best team in the American League, with Houston and the Yankees? No, I don't think any of us felt that we were going to win our division, but we thought we would be competitive simply because we have great pitching. And it turned into one of the most fun summers we've all. 17 young men made their major league debut. 17 young men. When we said we were going to give these young men an opportunity to see what they could do at the big league level, we meant it. 17 young men. 1912 and 1914 was the last time a Cleveland baseball team had 17 kids on their roster make their major league debut. So it was part of the enthusiasm and fun it was a little tougher on the fans saying, who's this guy? When somebody was out on the mound or at the plate. But the whole concept this year was trying to get opportunities. So of the 17, we had 11 position players, 6 pitchers. The youngest team in Major League Baseball, we averaged about 26 years old. The average age in baseball last year was 30. So we were significantly younger. They were actually AAA teams that were older than us this past year in baseball. I think one of the things we all enjoyed was that youthful enthusiasm and that real sense of teamwork. The we attitude over the me attitude was certainly front and center all season long with these 17 kids. I was extremely excited watching this team play. As much fun watching them in the dugout as much as it was winning an MLB best 29 games in the last at bat. The last item here. We had 27 last at bat wins in 1995, our second year in our brand new ballpark. We actually did a video on all the last at bat wins. For those of you who might remember that, called Wahoo, What a Finish. This team eclipsed that group in 95 with the exciting last at bat heroics. Next slide, please. When we talk about what was the turning point of the baseball season, the video opened up with Jose Ramirez, with Paul Dolan to his right, Chris Antonetti to his left. And on April 5th, he signed a 7-year deal to stay in Cleveland. All of us in our organization point to that day, April 5th, as the turning point of this franchise. I can honestly share with you, and Chris has shared with the media, that we were that close. I'll tell you the quick story on that. It was a Sunday. We are opening in Kansas City on Thursday. So we're getting ready to leave spring training. We're heading over to Arizona Diamondbacks ballpark to play in the Major League ballpark against Arizona for 2 games, and then fly out to Kansas City Tuesday night to get there for a workout Wednesday, opening day on Thursday. The agent for Jose Ramirez calls Chris Antonetti on Sunday and says, I'll meet you in Kansas City on Thursday and we can continue discussions. And Chris said, you might be too late. There are 2 teams that are knocking on our door with deals that are almost too good to pass up. And he said, I'll be there tonight. He flies in, and on Monday morning, they get a Zoom deal. That video where you saw the 3 of them was when we were in Kansas City, and he actually inked the contract. But Paul was already back in Cleveland, so they got on a Zoom call on Monday. And it was Paul and Chris and Jose and the interpreter and his agent. And they spent a few hours together and hashed out a 7-year deal, the largest contract in franchise history. He's absolutely one of the best players in the game of baseball today. As you can see, he was 4th in the American League MVP voting. He's been in the MVP voting 4 times in the last 6 years. He was 2nd in the American League to Aaron Judge with 126 ribbies, which was 3rd in all of Major League Baseball. He was 1st in doubles. 2 times he's led the league in doubles. The thing that it kills me is Aaron Judge is 6'7", 6'8", hit a 60+ homers this year, obviously setting an American League record. Jose's about 5'9", 5'10" with longer spikes on. And Number one in Major League Baseball since 2017 in extra base hits. And part of that reason is because he sprints out of the box and leads the league in doubles. He just doesn't hit a ball off the wall and cruise into second base. This guy thinks double the moment he gets the bat on the ball. Just an absolutely remarkable player. In sports, I believe, in my 40 plus years of doing this, that it is vitally important that your highest paid player needs to be your best player. And he also needs to be, he or she needs to be your best character, your best all-around person, both on and off the field. That sets the tone for the rest of the ball club. If they see the guy making all the money, hustling every day, doing things out in the community like Jose Ramirez, when he signed the contract, first thing he turned to Paul was, I need to do something for the Hispanic community in Cleveland. So together with his investment of nearly $500,000 and our investment along with it, we're building a field turf at Canal in Fulton, in a park that the city of Cleveland is renovating, a park down at Canal and Fulton, or I'm sorry, Clark and Fulton Avenue. And when we heard about that redevelopment project, we went to the city and told them we want to be involved, as Jose wants to build a field turf for the kids. So Lincoln West High School will have an opportunity to play on a beautiful ball diamond. And so again, when you see the highest paid player being your best guy or gal, it just is the most important aspect, because that just permeates through your locker room, your clubhouse. They're focused on the team and not themselves. We are incredibly fortunate that Jose Ramirez is our best in all facets. Next, we're also fortunate for this guy. Unbelievable what he has accomplished in his 10 seasons. He comes aboard in 2013, immediately gives us a sense of credibility around baseball, and immediately gives us an incredible sense of credibility inside the clubhouse with the players. 10 seasons with us, 2013 through last year, 9 winning seasons. The one losing season was 2021. We were 80 and 82, just a couple games under 500. He's a 3-time manager of the year, as we mentioned. He's become the winningest manager in franchise history. We've been in the playoffs 5 of the last 7 seasons under him, and 6 times in the last 10 seasons. The last line is the one that I think is most amazing about him. Think about that. Out of contention of the playoffs in 10 years, 18 total games. 7 of those were when we were 80 and 82, the last week of the season. We didn't get to the last few days and still have a chance to make the postseason. It was actually a whole week of baseball that we were not playing for anything. So 7 of these in one season, only 18 games. And that's in a total of more than 1,500 baseball games. One of the things you need to know, that 845 number, that he has won 845 games in 10 seasons. It ranks 4th most in all of baseball. Go to the next slide for me, please. Take a look at this. Since Tito joined us, our record the last 10 seasons. These are the top 4 winningest teams in all of baseball in the last decade. Dodgers at $260 million payroll. Yankees about $250. Cardinals and us, 2 middle market teams. St. Louis, for those of you who might be baseball fans, the best baseball city in America. If they win 10 games or win 100, 3 million people show up. They are historically, traditionally the best baseball city in America. They don't have all three major sports in their town, which is another issue. But look at that. They're only 3 games better. Now, these two teams up at the top in the 10-year period probably spent $900 million more than we have on players over the course of 10 years. Pretty remarkable what Chris Antonetti, Tito as a leader. We could go on for hours and talk about the leadership style of Tito Francona, why he's going to be in the Hall of Fame, what makes him so good, how he can be a big league manager for, I think, 21 years in the last 22 seasons after he left the Red Sox. He was on Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN for a year, and then called up Chris and said, I think I want to sneak back into this game. And the uniqueness of his growing up here with his dad playing for us and his being in our front office prior to taking his first managerial job with the Phillies, where he was horrible for 4 years. And then the Red Sox gave him an opportunity, and he has had winning seasons ever since. Next slide. We're built on pitching. How do we get to where we are with 10 years of winning 845 games? It's because we're built on pitching and we do it homegrown. We could not afford 40 million for Justin Verlander, is going to make 43 million a year the next 2 years in New York Mets. Max Scherzer is going to make 42. So it's something like 85 million, 2 players. That's going to be close to what our entire payroll is next year, because we have such a young team, 17 kids making their debut, 2 players at a big market team. We can't afford, again, no middle market team. It's not unique to Cleveland. I want to make sure everybody knows that, and it's not an excuse as why you can't compete. We were in the postseason longer than the Mets were. They had a $240 million payroll, if not more. So, and we battled the Yankees, obviously, in the postseason. If there wasn't a rainout, we probably beat them. Most people in baseball feel we were the better team. We just weren't able to get it done in Game 5 of that series. But our 1-2-3 punch, Shane and Tristan and Cal, 2 homegrown guys, 1 guy, Cal, come over in a trade. Shane got off to a little bit of a rougher start. He was coming off a little bit of an injury. We babied him, if that's an appropriate term. We were real cautious with him early in the season on the number of innings. And then when he got rolling and strong, his last 13 starts, he was the Shane Bieber that won the Cy Young Award. Tristan, think about this young man. Those of you who watch us play, here's a kid who couldn't find home plate a year ago. He came up, pitched well, and then all of a sudden got into this mechanical issue where he just couldn't repeat his delivery, and he couldn't throw strikes, and the ball's going to the backstop and it's bouncing 5 feet in front of home plate and losing his confidence. And we sent him to AAA, and he worked hard, and he comes back and is one of the top pitchers in the game. He pitched a gem against the Houston Astros at Progressive Field on a Sunday afternoon. Houston came into Cleveland in a 4-game set and beat the tar out of us in games 1 and 2. And then all of a sudden we win Game 3. And Game 4 to split the 4-game series against what most people obviously ended up being accurate, the best team in the American League. And Tristan shut him down. Just stood up and beat Houston. And then later against the Yankees on a Sunday afternoon, he did the same thing to them. And Cal was just terrific, consistent all season long. Our bullpen Emmanuel Class A, absolute elite. Another guy that was acquired in a trade, we traded Corey Kluber to the Texas Rangers to acquire Emmanuel Class A. He was number one in appearances and also number one in saves with 42. Was the American League reliever of the month 3 times, was just named to the first team all MLB, was the American League reliever of the year. He just continues to get award after award. Big, strong guy that it's so comforting for our guys to go to the winter meetings and know that the back end of their bullpen is taken care of, that they don't have to worry about that aspect. Reports, we were going after a first baseman and a catcher, possibly another starting pitcher. We got our first baseman in Josh Bell, which was reported. We haven't announced it because it's always pending physicals. But Josh Bell signing a 2-year deal, was the 2nd round draft pick of the Pirates and had played in Washington and San Diego. Big power hitting switch hitter, first baseman, an incredibly wonderful addition to this baseball team. Trevor Steffen and James Karinchak helped the bullpen. We're the 3rd lowest ERA in the American League and 4th lowest in all of Major League Baseball. So we're built on a top-ranked pitching staff, both starting rotation and our bullpen. It's what drives us. As Bob Lemon always said, there's only 2 things that matter in life: good friends and a good bullpen. Next slide. So when you pitch it, you're built on pitching it, you better catch it. So this last year, we had 5 nominees for Gold Gloves in the American League. 4 of them won the award. Miles Straw, Stephen Kwan. Stephen might have become my new favorite player. That kid is just remarkable, the way he plays the game. He's smaller than Jose Ramirez and still gets the job done. That's the beauty of the game of baseball. Andres Jimenez at second and Shane Bieber as the pitcher. The lone player here that did not win a Gold Glove was Jose Ramirez at third base, and he is considered a Gold Glove caliber third baseman. So Tito will tell you that he believes Andres Jimenez, who was in the trade for Francisco Lindor, our shortstop, Ahmed Rosario, a terrifically talented player, and Andres at second came over from the Mets as part of sending Francisco to the Mets, that Tito has said that he believes Andres Jimenez is the best second baseman in baseball. Next slide. It was really fun watching us, as some people thought that we reverted to the old-fashioned style of baseball. Our guys decided we had an absolute disdain for striking out. A new batting coach, Chris Vallejo, comes to our organization with our analytics department, and we talk about putting the barrel of the bat on the ball. Don't strike out, put the ball in play, have some fun, move the ball around, run the bases aggressively, and have some fun on offense. Don't just swing for the fences and swing and miss and think it's okay to strike out. I know that's a remarkable thought process, but that was the nature of the game the last 10, 15 years. Swing for the fences, even with 2 strikes, you might get lucky and hit a home run. Well, our guys decided that's not the style we want to play. So we had the fewest strikeouts in baseball. We had the best contact rate. Think about it, over 80% of the time we were putting the bat on the ball, meaning our guys swung at strikes. Old baseball fundamentals, don't swing at pitches out of the strike zone. We were number 4 in the AL in batting average, 6th in runs scored. It obviously was really a lot of fun to watch this team do their thing. And then they were extremely aggressive on the base paths. 3rd in Major League Baseball. We had Miles Straw led the team with 21. Andres Jimenez and Jose each had 20. Mr. Kwan had 19 and Ahmed Rosario had 18 stolen bases. Next slide. Next year, gonna have some rule changes. The shift. No longer can you put an infielder in the outfield. As a matter of fact, all 4 infielders have to have their cleats on the dirt. There has to be 2 on the left side of second base and 2 on the right side. It's going to be interesting to see which team decides to take against the left-handed hitter, the left fielder, and move them over to short right field and leave left field wide open. It's going to be very interesting to see what people do in that regard, because there'll still be hitters who are pull happy and not using the entire field. Rod Carew, when somebody asked him when we were in Los Angeles playing the Angels, what he thought of us, and he goes, they're the only team in baseball that realizes there's 2 foul poles out on a baseball field, which I thought was a great. He was actually a hitting instructor at spring training for us when Kenny Lofton joined us in the 90s to teach Kenny how to bunt. There'll be a pitch clock. Pitcher will have 15 seconds to deliver the ball home with nobody on base. If he doesn't, it's a ball. I'm sorry, it's a strike. No, it's a ball. It's a ball. Yeah, he'll get penalized. It's a ball. And 20 seconds with a runner or runners on base. I love this rule. These have been in place in the minor leagues the last 3-4 years. So pitchers and players are used to playing this game, especially the young guys. And the pace of play is just going to be so much better enhanced with the pitch clock. Larger bases, you wonder why would they do that? They're currently 15 inches square. They're going to be 18 inches square. First and foremost, health and safety of the players. If you remember back in the old days, the phantom tag at second base when a double play was turned, so a guy didn't get spiked as he was coming across the bag, but the ball beat the runner, so he was automatically out. Well, with replay, you can't do that. You have to have your foot on the bag when the ball gets to you, because they'll go to replay and show that you weren't touching the base, so the guy should be safe. So instead of having guys get spiked and ankles get beat up and shins get black and blue and hurt middle infielders, larger bases. Plus, they hope it will help enhance stolen bases. For a team like us, we're pretty excited. Those 3 extra inches as you lead off from first base, the bang bang play at second base, just a little bit more activity going on with the rule changes. Next slide. Last one before we get to quick questions, because I know we got to get out of here. We've got tickets on sale right now. We'll keep this up. You can read that. We're proud to be one of the oldest institutions in the city of Cleveland. Professional baseball is now in its 154th season on the shores of Lake Erie. We are 123 years in as a charter member of the American League. We had Tom Hanks throw out the first pitch, as you saw in the video, which was such a fun thing for us to start with a new name. And we can't wait to see you at the ballpark next year. We have a family-friendly, family-affordable. We think we are put on an incredibly fun atmosphere, a fun family environment down at Progressive Field. And we hope to see you often next year at the ballpark. So with that, who wants to be Stephen Kwan and lead off with the first question? Yes, sir. Certainly. Thanks for being guinea pigs on this. I got a few things to work.
Curious about the pitch clock.
Yes, sir.
One, who's in charge of the keeping track of the time? Will the pitcher see a clock behind him? are they gonna have a slow motion replay to see if his ball were released right in the 15-second clock? I mean,
It's good. No, you're right. It's going to be very interesting at the beginning and how they police it. But the most important question is, there is a clock. If you are looking at Progressive Field and you're standing in the left-handed batter's box and you look at our scoreboard, right to the right bottom of our scoreboard, there's a pitch clock. There's also one right underneath the press box, right behind home plate. So the pitcher can stand and see how much time he has. So the managers on both teams can look either behind home plate or out to center field to see where that pitch clock is and how much leeway the umpires are going to give. If it hits 0 and the guy's going, probably fine. But if it's hits 0 and they're still fiddling with their hat, getting the grip on the ball, it'll be the first one that happens. You know, it's going to be all over MLB Network and ESPN and all those places. So it's going to be interesting. There is people in the organization at each ballpark that are in charge of all the robotic cameras and all the timepieces up in the press box area. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Bob, once again, always a pleasure to have you here. We don't mind being your guinea pig. You mentioned as far as salaries, and you're not, the organization is not the kind of organization that gives $30 million contracts. You mentioned Ramirez, and he is an exciting ball player to watch. I mean, he's very energetic and brings 100% every time to the game. 7-year contract. I didn't read it. I probably could find out what it is. What is it over 7 years? I'm just curious. It's probably not 30 million. If you said you don't pay anybody 30 million, but he's worth every nickel.
Yeah, it's upwards of 150, 160 million for the 7 years. As a matter of fact, we gave him a bonus of sorts in the contract for last year. This coming year, he's only making, I think, 17 million. And then the contract kicks in 2024 in the big numbers. If 17 isn't a big number to you, but the bigger numbers come in. And the coolest thing about him, after he signed and a couple days later, Terry Pluto goes up to him and talks to him about the contract. And he said, do you consider it a hometown discount? Because that's what everybody, was talking about. And he goes, no. He goes, I put my name on it. So there's why would you call it that? It's a contract I'm happy with. I don't need to be a guy who makes $200 million playing the game. I think I can live on 160 million. How many athletes say that? Because this is where I grew up. We brought him to our organization at the age of 16 in the Dominican Republic. So we are all that he knows. And he knows he's the leader of this team, and we cherish him and everything he's about. And I just found him, he's such a refreshing young man. Yes, sir.
what an amazing attitude.
Yeah.
Seems kind of rare, actually. So I have 2 questions. One, this is just a feeling, but it feels like the Yankees focus more on the post, like just getting into the postseason and really winning that, whereas Tito seems to obviously focus on doing well throughout the entire season. I don't know if that's just a feeling or if they do something differently. And the second question is a completely different topic. We have in-laws who live in Atlanta, and they go to the Atlanta United MLB, which has got 9 out of the top 10 best-selling sellouts. And it's apparently because they really focus on the Hispanic audience in that area. I'm wondering if, I assume we do specific things to attract, to market to the Hispanic audience within the Cleveland market.
Yeah, I'll answer number 2. We absolutely do. We're going to increase the number of games that we do broadcast in the local market. We had Carlos Baerga do the play-by-play on radio with on a couple games this year on a predominantly Hispanic Hispanic radio stations in Northeast Ohio. Again, getting into the communities of the Hispanic neighborhoods, and not only the Jose Ramirez ball field, but through our Reviving Baseball in the Inner Cities program, through the Boys and Girls Clubs, through the rec centers. We do a lot. Penny Forster in our organization's in charge of our community impact. Her and her team are just remarkable in how they get out into all the neighborhoods in Northeast Ohio, providing baseball, health and wellness opportunities. So it's a very important market segment for us, no question about it. The thing about building a team for the postseason, that was a story in New York this year, because they didn't know if they were going to get there, because they were struggling. And all of a sudden, you have Tampa, who's like us, relies heavily on analytics and player development. The Boston Red Sox fell down, but the Orioles started to win. Toronto, with our old friend Mark Shapiro and Ross Adkins running their baseball operations, started to really make a move, wondering if they were going to unseat the Yankees, and then they started playing well at the end of the year. But they do build like the Dodgers. They're in the position now. They don't win the World Series, spending $260 million. It's a complete failure for those clubs. It was pretty interesting to see how Houston just manhandled the Yankees, sweeping them 4-0. Pretty remarkable. Any last ones? And then we got to go. Jim's got one more.
But any, if you need anybody to help with Dominican Republic fantasy camp, I think that would be a hit.
You're the guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're the guy to help us with that. Yeah, the Dominican Republic, obviously that part of the world with the rich baseball talent, the passion those young men have for the game. One of the things that we built that I think you'd find interesting, when Chris Antonetti went to Paul and said, we really need to step up our game in that part of the world. We are truly committed to player development. That's the spot that we need, that needs to be addressed in our organization. And one of the things Paul said to Chris was, we're going to bring 100 young men from that part of the world into our complex. I want your assurance that they're going to be better men when they leave than when they show up. So they're going to class in the morning. So Anna Bolton, a young lady we grabbed, she was a Spanish teacher, English Spanish teacher at a high school in North Carolina. We found her. She used to be our interpreter. Those of you may remember her on TV when the guys were getting interviewed. And then we expanded her role. And now she's created a curriculum that happens in spring training. It happens in the Dominican. These kids have to go to class in the morning, learn English, understand what a checkbook is, if there is such a thing today, but to understand those things, assimilation to the American culture, before they go out on the field and get in the batting cage and play the game of baseball. They have to pass certain things. One of the most fun things that spread through our organization, and it didn't hit the media because they didn't care, but to us, it was a huge story. We had 26 young men reach their GED in the Dominican last year. And it was pretty cool. It was celebrated internally, I can tell you, by all of us, because again, that's Paul's focus. We try to do the holistic approach with our young men, again, with the goal being there's only going to be 2% that maybe get a cup of coffee in the big leagues. Certainly smaller portion stay in the big leagues for any good period of time. We want them to be better men when they leave us. So, and that's Paul Dolan in a nutshell. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
so much. Can I hold you up for just 1 second here? First of all, was there any more exciting moment than Oscar Gonzalez
No.
with a walk-off home run? Oh, my word.
That was
Oh,
unreal.
it was fantastic, wasn't it? All right, so here I need you to pick a
A number?
yeah, number on here. Rotobuck today is payout is $9, jackpot 269.
681-012. How about that? The first person maybe to buy it. Zero.
All right. All right. Thank you again for coming, and you guys have a great day. Go make somebody's life better, all right?